Help me reach my goal and subscribe. And hit the bell icon.
Chapter 68:16. In the next few days, Rhea stayed with Charlie all the time. No matter where she went, she never left Charlie's 10-meter distance. It is worth mentioning that Charlie did not make such a request to her. Everything was completely her own subjective will. Tawana performances were also very perfect. After the last performance ended smoothly, she planned to stay in Shanghai for 2 more days and do a few live broadcasts for the city's promotion. After her last live broadcast in Eastcliff, the number of tourists in Eastcliff reached an unprecedented peak. A large number of foreign tourists were influenced by her and came here for tourism, making it the most popular tourist city in the world. Tawana wanted to stay for the live broadcast, but Charlie did not wait for the last concert to end, and drove Rhea to leave the city and head to Aurus Hill overnight. On the way, Rhea was a little excited. She was looking forward to visiting the city where Charlie lived, and also looking forward to meeting Jeremiah. She couldn't help asking Charlie, "Mr. Wade, what kind of person is Jeremiah? Is he easy to get along with?" Charlie thought for a while and said, "I don't have much contact with her, but I can be sure that she is still very friendly. And both of you are facing the pressure of detoxification, and you can help and support each other in this matter." Charlie took her to the Champs-Élysées Spa Hotel, where she met the long-awaited Jeremiah. When Charlie introduced Rhea to Jeremiah, Jeremiah was very surprised and said, "Hello, Miss Song, I've heard Mr. Wade mention you many times, and I've been looking forward to Miss Song's arrival recently." Rhea still had some after-effects from the Warrior's Den. Seeing the beautiful Jeremiah, her heart was full of awe. She respectfully clasped her hands together and saluted her, saying humbly but with full respect, "The subordinate greets the Earl." Jeremiah smiled self-deprecatingly. "This Earl is a thing of the past. You can call me by my name in the future. This is the title Victoria gave me, and I've never liked it. And don't call yourself a subordinate in front of me. Strictly speaking, we don't have any subordinate and master relationship." Only then did she realize that she was no longer a member of the Warrior's Den. So, she hurriedly said humbly, "I'm sorry, Miss Yun, I'm rude." Jeremiah smiled and said, "It's okay, it's just that I really hate the Warrior's Den. And my request to you is a bit complicated. I hope you can forgive me." Charlie said at this time, "From today on, Miss Song will also live here. If Miss Yun has any experience, you can communicate with Miss Song. I will come to visit you often when I have time. I will prepare it tomorrow, and come to see you in the afternoon." "No problem." The 2 women nodded and agreed at the same time. Charlie planned to bring 2 cultivation pills tomorrow. Although cultivation pills could not help them detoxify, they could greatly enhance their strength and the strength of their spiritual energy. For them, it was also a great help. Chapter 68:17. After settling Rhea, Charlie drove out of the Champs-Élysées Hot Spring Hotel and rushed back to his home in Thompson. The Champs-Élysées Hot Spring Hotel was originally located in the southern suburbs of Aurus Hill, just on the road that Charlie had to take when he returned home from Shanghai. So it didn't take up much time. After Charlie left, Rhea asked Jeremiah with respect, "Miss Yun, how long have you been here?" "Not very long," Jeremiah said, Before Germo self-destructed, I happened to be hiding nearby and was affected by his self-destruction and was seriously injured. It was Mr. Wade who saved me. Self-destruction? Rhea hurriedly asked. The self-destruction should be the self-destruction formation that Mr. Wade mentioned before. That the Lord, oh no. Victoria left in your Niwen palace, right? Yes. Jeremiah nodded gently and said with emotion. Back then, Victoria told us that she left a life-saving formation in our Niwen palace. If we encounter a strong enemy and feel that we are invincible and cannot escape, we can activate the life-saving formation to keep our souls intact. We always believed it and were grateful until Germo opened the formation at the critical moment of life and death. I realized that it was not a life-saving formation at all, but a self-destructing formation. Victoria wanted to use this method to eliminate potential enemies. And we, the so-called Earls, are the human bombs she created with her own hands. Rhea took a breath and gritting her teeth, and said, Fortunately, I have only been enlightened for 2 years. And Victoria has not had the opportunity to see me. Otherwise, I believe that with her style of doing things, she will definitely leave the same formation in my body. After that, she quickly asked, Then Miss Yun not only has a deadly poison in her body that is about to expire, but also a formation that will self-destruct at the thought of moving. Yes. Jeremiah laughed at herself and said with emotion, I can be said to have all 5 poisons now. Rhea smiled bitterly and said, Actually, it's not that bad. I am also poisoned like Miss Yun. In more than a year, I am afraid I will die of the poison. Jeremiah said seriously, You must believe in Mr. Wade. He may be able to create a miracle. Rhea said, But Mr. Wade told me that he has no way to detoxify it now. And a year is a short time. Mr. Wade may not have so much energy to find a way to help us detoxify. Jeremiah shook her head and said, Everything requires an opportunity. Although Mr. Wade does not have the ability now, I believe that with his luck, he will be able to find a way to resolve it. Then, Jeremiah reminded her, Since we are here, don't think about those things that we are unable to solve by ourselves. Because no matter how much we think, we can't change the reality. It is better to put our hearts firmly in our stomachs, practice well, and not worry about anything else. That's right. Rhea agreed and said, To be honest with you, Miss Yun, I do think so. Before I came here, Mr. Wade just helped me find my sea of consciousness. I feel that my cultivation has entered a whole new world. Regardless of whether I can interpret the poison after a year, I have decided to practice well this year and live up to Mr. Wade's support and guidance. There is one thing that Jeremiah did not tell Rhea. In fact, Charlie had told her a long time ago that there might be a way to detoxify her body. However, that method was a bit too cruel, and the cost was also very high. The specific method was to use the reshaping pill to reshape her body. Charlie had used spiritual energy to explore her body. 2 strange energies were entangled in her body, but they were only limited to the body. If no other method can be found before Jeremiah's poison breaks out, Jeremiah can be beheaded, and the reshaping pill can be put into her mouth. Chapter 68:18. As long as her brain is not dead and there is still a trace of consciousness, the reshaping pill can help her reshape her body. By then, the poison entangled in her internal organs will naturally be resolved. Jeremiah knew this method. But she didn't tell Rhea, because she was afraid that a young girl like Rhea would not be able to accept such a thing as beheading. So she simply didn't say it. However, Jeremiah knew that decapitation and taking the reshaping pill could completely eliminate the poison in her and Rhea's bodies. But it could not remove the self-destruct formation left by her Niwen Palace. Niwen Palace is located in the brain, which is beyond the maximum limit that the reshaping pill can reshape. The next day, when Charlie returned to the Champs-Élysées Hot Spring Hotel, he deliberately brought 2 enhanced versions of cultivation pills refined by the cauldron furnace. What surprised him was that Rhea and Jeremiah did not rest last night. The 2 of them sat in meditation and breathed all night in the practice room prepared by Charlie for Rhea. Seeing that Charlie had just left last night and come back early in the morning, the 2 women were a little moved. Jeremiah said to him, "Mr. Wade, Miss Song is here. I will take care of her. You don't have to worry too much." Charlie smiled and said, "I'm not worried. I just came to give you 2 something." The 2 were confused, wondering what Charlie was going to give them early in the morning. Charlie did not reveal it at this time, but said to the 2, "You 2 sit cross-legged and enter meditation first. I will help you." The 2 were overjoyed to hear this. Rhea had just realized the truth, and her strength was very weak. Although Charlie had helped her find the sea of consciousness, she was still far behind Jeremiah beside her. She had been eager to continue to improve her cultivation. Jeremiah was also obsessed with cultivation. With Charlie's help, she could naturally make rapid progress in her cultivation and achieve twice the result with half the effort. Charlie asked the 2 to sit cross-legged side by side. And then he sat cross-legged in the center in front of them and said to them, "You 2 have different strengths. Miss Yun has practiced for a long time and is stronger. She is more adept at controlling spiritual energy. Miss Song has just found the sea of consciousness and is still relatively unfamiliar with the control of spiritual energy. For the 2 of you, the best help is not to teach you how to control spiritual energy, nor to teach you how to make spiritual energy more pure, but to directly let you have more spiritual energy. In this world, spiritual energy can no longer be obtained by natural breathing. So the way to let you have more spiritual energy is to take pills." As he said, he took out the 2 enhanced cultivation pills and said, "I don't know if you have heard of cultivation pills." Cultivation pills. Jeremiah's heartbeat suddenly accelerated when she heard this name. Last time, Charlie gave her a rejuvenation pill to heal her. That rejuvenation pill made her feel what a natural treasure is for the first time. The feeling of cleansing her essence and marrow still makes her remember it. But she didn't expect that Charlie actually had cultivation pills. In Warrior's Den, she had only obtained some so-called small cultivation pills. But the spiritual energy contained in that kind of pill was not much. In all the years she had been in Warrior's Den, the small cultivation pills she had obtained were not many. The reason why the small cultivation pill was called this name was not because there was really such a pill, but because it was a substandard product obtained by Victoria's unscrupulous dilution of cultivation pills. An ordinary cultivation pill, by mixing various medicinal materials that did not contain spiritual energy, could be made into about 20 small cultivation pills. So the efficacy of that kind of medicine itself was very poor. But even so, the small cultivation pill was also a treasure for Victoria to win over the 4 earls and cultivators like Rhea. Rhea also exclaimed at this time, "Mr. Wade! Mr. Wade, I have only taken the small cultivation pill rewarded by Victoria. And I have never heard of cultivation pill. Small cultivation pill." Charlie only heard the name and guessed what it was. A cup of sugar water diluted into more than 10 or 20 cups becomes a low-sugar version of sugar water. And the same logic applies to the dilution of pills. So, he smiled and said, "Actually, what I want to give you today is not a cultivation pill, but a super cultivation pill." Chapter 68:19 Super cultivation pill. The 2 women were shocked and looked incredulous. They had only taken the small cultivation pill. Rhea had never even heard of the cultivation pill, let alone the super cultivation pill. Jeremiah had been with Victoria for a long time. She had heard her talk about the cultivation pill before, and knew that the efficacy of this pill was much stronger than that of the small cultivation pill. However, she knew in her heart that it was impossible for her to get such a precious pill from Victoria. It seemed that only the 3 elders had taken the pill, except Victoria herself. But Charlie said that his pill was the super cultivation pill. Judging from the name, the super cultivation pill must be stronger than the ordinary cultivation pill. Even if it was the cultivation pill, the 2 women didn't dare to hope for it. And they didn't even dare to think about the super cultivation pill. Seeing the 2 people's horrified expressions, Charlie smiled and said, "The super cultivation pill, as the name suggests, must be stronger than the ordinary cultivation pill. For your current cultivation, this pill should still be a great improvement." Jeremiah and Rhea were so surprised that they couldn't speak. In the warrior's den, pills were the greatest reward given by the hero Victoria to a person. Rhea had only received a few small cultivation pills since she realized the truth. And each time, he only received one. Every time she received one, she would kneel down to thank Victoria. Even if she had never met Victoria, she would kneel down in front of the person who handed over the pill to thank Victoria for her great kindness. Jeremiah was slightly stronger than Rhea. A master like her, who had become an earl, could get a pill from Victoria once every 6 months. However, the number of pills was not much. In a year, she could only get a few small cultivation pills. Occasionally, when there was a major mission and meritorious service, Victoria would reward 3 or 5 pills when she was in a good mood. This was the maximum she could get. However, Charlie and Victoria's approach is completely different. The 2 of them have not really worked for Charlie yet. And Charlie can even be said to have protected them all the way. Settled them here, and let them have a safe, quiet, and undisturbed training environment. Now he even took out the elixir to give to the 2 of them. And it was the big elixir that was many times stronger than the small elixir. Seeing the 2 people stunned, Charlie smiled slightly and said, "You don't have to be so surprised. I just happen to have some skills in alchemy and medicine. And I don't happen to be stingy with elixir. You 2 have finally realized the truth after going through untold hardships. I hope these elixirs can help you." Jeremiah was deeply moved and said respectfully, "Mr. Wade has been very kind to me. And I will never forget it." Rhea's eyes were red, and tears were already sliding down uncontrollably. She had only lived for more than 20 years. And she had never felt that anyone really cared about her. Needless to say, the Song family was the result of their fathers sowing outside. Their original mission was just to please the Wu family. As for the Wu family, including Victoria, no one really cared about them. The Wu family was only concerned about how they could work better for themselves. So now, looking at it again, the only person who really cared about her life was probably Charlie. She calmed down a little and said with a sob, "Thank you, Mr. Wade, for your kindness. I am willing to die for Mr. Wade in this life." Charlie smiled and said, "I'll give you the pill to make you progress quickly. Not to make you loyal to me. Let's put these things behind us for the time being and take the pill first. I will guide you to absorb the spiritual energy in the pill." Chapter 68:20. The two looked at each other and nodded at the same time. And put the pill into their mouths at the same time. Before the pill entered their mouths, they could feel the vigorous spiritual energy contained in the pill, which was almost gushing out of the pill. People who practice Taoism are extremely sensitive to spiritual energy. And there is no spiritual energy in the world for them to absorb. So when they come into contact with the pills rich in spiritual energy, their intuition will become very sharp. The two suppressed their excitement and put the pills into their mouths. As the pills turned into a hot stream, they both felt an unprecedented strong spiritual energy entering their stomachs, and then rushing to the sea of consciousness in their brains along the meridians. Although the two had prepared themselves mentally that the super cultivation pill would be much stronger than the small cultivation pill, when the pills really dissolved in their bodies, they were both shocked by the incomparably powerful spiritual energy. This super cultivation pill can at least be equivalent to dozens, or even nearly 100 small cultivation pills. Moreover, pills are like taking medicine when people are sick. If the dosage is small and scattered, the effect will be greatly reduced. So, in summary, the efficacy of the super cultivation pill is enough to be equivalent to 100 small cultivation pills. The two felt like a person who never had enough to eat suddenly got a feast that could last for days. And the spiritual energy in their bodies instantly rose several levels. Charlie used spiritual energy to transfer the spiritual energy into the two people's bodies, helping them to guide the spiritual energy into the sea of consciousness. And reminded them, don't keep all the spiritual energy in the sea of consciousness. Now, follow me to mobilize the spiritual energy from the sea of consciousness. And let the spiritual energy strengthen your meridians. The two were not proficient in controlling the spiritual energy. Rhea had always had little spiritual energy in her body. And the little spiritual energy she had was left in the dantian. Although Jeremiah had opened her sea of consciousness, she was reluctant to transport the spiritual energy she had accumulated into her meridians on weekdays, and kept it in the sea of consciousness just in case. Now, Charlie asked them to lead the spiritual energy out of the sea of consciousness and transport it into the meridians. At first, the two instinctively felt a little distressed. But this was Charlie's order after all. The two did not dare to delay at all, and immediately followed Charlie's instructions to transfer the spiritual energy from the sea of consciousness to the meridians of the body. After being nourished by the spiritual energy, the meridians have become stronger and stronger, and even the smoothness is constantly improving. For those who practice Taoism, they often ignore the strengthening of the meridians and the body because they have mastered the spiritual energy. But in fact, the meridians are the underlying structure of cultivation. This is like the infrastructure of an industrial country. The better the infrastructure, the faster the future development speed. Because there is abundant spiritual energy to squander. The two realized for the first time that the meridians can have such a powerful change under the effect of spiritual energy. The improvement brought by this change is very obvious. So that the two can immediately realize that their bodies have undergone earth-shaking changes. More than an hour later, the two used nearly half of the spiritual energy contained in the elixir to strengthen the meridians and dantian. After the meridians and dantian have been greatly improved, the two have noticed an obvious change. That is, once they need to mobilize a large amount of spiritual energy, the unobstructed meridians will make their response speed faster. At this time, the two heard Charlie's voice ringing in their ears. Okay, you can end the meditation. The two opened their eyes at the same time and saw Charlie in front of them. And they were very excited. Everyone can realize that their strength has been greatly improved. Although it is just a pill, it can at least save them 2 to 3 years, or even 4 to 5 years of hard training. Jeremiah stopped sitting cross-legged and knelt directly in front of Charlie, saying respectfully, "Thank you, Mr. Wade, for your help." Rhea also hurriedly followed suit, kneeling side by side with Jeremiah, and said devoutly, "Thank you, Mr. Wade, for your help."